It is the Names and Coffee podcast. I first said the Names and Daily podcast, and I was like, girl, I would say you need more coffee, but you've already had about 10 cups today. So, anyway, welcome to the Names and Coffee podcast. And guess what? I've got cup number 11. Somebody asked me, they listened to a podcast, one of my podcasts, and they were like, you sound like you're high or something. And I was like, nope, that's coffee. Super. So I wanted to get my thoughts out. I've been thinking about this idea for, I think, like about a year now. How many of you know Tara from Rad and Happy? Oh, she literally is rad and happy. She's the best. She is so creative and talented. And her letter art is just, I live for it. And she had said in her stories, I think it's like a year ago now, back when she was getting her true through somewhere, and it was epic. You're like, Alex, pull it together here. She was just talking about relationships, specifically her relationship with her husband. And she had just talked about this epiphany she had had about letting her husband love her his way instead of wanting him to love her the way she wanted, like recognizing who he is as a person, that he's different than her, and that his love language, he's going to want to do certain things for her and vice versa. And that really stuck out to me. She had a much more eloquent way of saying it, but I've just been thinking about that. And it started a little mental journey for me of letting people love me the way they know how, but more importantly, asking people to love me the way they know how. Because for as long as I can remember, like, this has got to be preteen, I would think. I didn't really tell people my needs, and I just bucked up, and I was the bigger person, and I was the person who would just silently take care of everything. And I think part of that is my personality, and the part of that is training, that I just did what needs to be done. And being the person that always does the right thing is honestly a lonely place a lot of the time, because you're the one who's there to turn the lights out. You know what I mean? And I'm not like glorifying this at all. It's not, it's very codependent. It's not a great trait to have exactly, to always just silently do the right thing. I think that there has to be a really healthy balance, and you can do the right thing if you have healthy mental health. But if you don't, you end up just suffering and being lonely. And so, thinking about what Tara had said over the winter, I just said, I am going to be more vocal in telling people what I need. Like, hey, I need somebody to show up for me in this way. I need help with the kids, or I need help coming over and helping me with dinner, or hey, I need somebody to go out and have a good time with me, or hey, like, this thing is really hard for me, and speaking up and just being more vocal about not necessarily the right thing, but also how I felt about it. And to my shock and amazement, I have felt so incredibly loved this year. And I'm like, wow, I didn't realize it was that easy. It's been a wonder for me. And that led me to wanting to move back to my hometown, to be closer to my family and my peeps, and So that was my journey all this summer and fall, was moving, which this crazy COVID crisis has made real estate spin wildly. So that's why I've been a little MIA from everything, just because life just literally picked up and moved. But it's been so good because I just started voicing what I needed and voicing some of the things that I wanted in my life too. I think COVID has been good COVID's been horrible, but it's been good in this way that it has caused people to pause and reflect about what they really want in life and what is really important. So all of that just came together in this twister of emotion for me with what Tara had said, I think like a year ago. And I just have felt so loved, and just people showing up for me in their way, in the way they know how. Now, the flip side of that is like you have this great awakening, and then the other side of that coin is a rude awakening, because you go, oh, there are just some people that will always be this way. And I'm not talking about the great. I'm talking about the things that really upset you. And saying, this person cannot help themselves being this way. If I continually wait for them to have a different response, I'm going to wait forever. And it hurts when our expectations of who we think they should be get involved, because I feel like it's always a slap back of, wow, I really thought they were going to be different this time. And that realization, that rude awakening of they just are who they are. They can't help themselves. They're not going to have a different response than what they're able to. That's who they are. And change is up to them. And there are just some people that don't want to change. And you have to go through this divorce of expectation on people. And so one hand is letting people love you the way they know how, which is awesome. And the other side of that is with other people that hurt you of, okay, they're gonna be who they know how to be. And so because of that, I have to set up boundaries and protect my peace, and who they are is up to them. I spent a lot of my life and my time wanting things and situations and people to be a different way. And I spent most of that time frustrated and disappointed and feeling lost without the things that I needed. And so when I began to speak up, that brought a lot of things to the surface. I found the people who showed up for me, and I found the people who couldn't. And with the people who couldn't, you say, okay, well, how can I have them in my life in a healthy way? Or is it not a healthy way? And you have to have some heart and brain dialogue, some cold, hard facts dialogue. And then on the other side of that is for the people who show up for you, it causes you to have self-reflection and say, am I the kind of person who can show up for my peeps? Who am I as a person? Am I a good person? Do I have all the attributes that I would want to have in a friend? Am I my own friend? Would I want me as a friend? Would I want me as a partner? Would I want me as a parent? And the deep dive of this self-reflection brings out such amazing growth. And so I think that for what we would call toxic people, they are not able to ask themselves that question. They just constantly run from reality and create their own reality, which causes a whole bunch of problems. But that's why it is so incredibly painful for them, so they don't. And I think it is so important that we can only focus on changing us. We can't change other people. And I've just found that even though sometimes these things are quite painful realizations, if you're willing to push into it, it will bring you so much peace. And we have to, I believe, because this is what I found in my life, when you learn to protect your peace, you have more stamina to press into difficulty. And there has to be that balance, because I spent a really long time, like a really, really long time, pressing into difficulty constantly and never filling my cup, and just in my own strength, just hammering it, just hammering it over and over again to press through things. And then one morning I woke up and I had nothing left. And so you just have to get to that place of valuing yourself and protecting your peace and cultivating peace. Like, cultivating peace isn't always lighting a candle and taking a bath or running to Target real quick for those 100 things that you didn't realize you needed. Cultivating peace is pressing into difficulty. I keep knocking my microphone, I'm sorry. Cultivating peace is planting a garden. It's messy at first, and there's a lot of poop involved. But anyway, those were just some thoughts that I had that I really wanted to share, that we have to let people love us the way they know how. And we also have to voice some of our needs. And if a person is unable to meet our needs, we have to meet those needs. It's up to us to take care of ourselves and not wait for other people to fill our tank. We have to fill our tank. And the extra we fill ourselves with is what we can freely give back to other people. I think one of the things that one of the things that I'm actively working on right now is recognizing that I have a whole set of life experiences and I am right about certain things. Because I've lived it and I've done the healing work in some areas and I've come out the other side better. So there are certain things that I know, but it's still my experience and my opinion. And I'm having to learn to be okay with other people arriving to other conclusions. And, if all of us were in the same situation, we would all have a different perspective about it. And that's fine. It's rounding out perspectives. That's totally fine. And so I have to be totally fine with that. Somebody else has a different perspective of someone or something, and that so do I, and neither of us are wrong. Sometimes we are, and sometimes I'm right. But I hope you can dissect what I mean is that I am learning to be totally okay and totally secure that somebody does not have to believe me for me to be valid. When you begin to release expectations, you begin to release a lot of tension, and you just embrace things for what they are. And it's a lot easier to plan out things in your life when you know where things stand, where you know where people stand. And it hurts sometimes because there are people that you have in your life that you desperately want to be different, that you want them to be what you need and what you want. And they just can't be anything else than who they are and wherever they're at in their growth process, whether they just aren't or it's slow. They just are who they are. And if they can't give you what you need or want, go look for it somewhere else. And I think that's the big takeaway that I'd like to leave with you is 1, let people love you how they are. 2, if people are toxic or can't help hurting you all the time, then you need to release the expectation that they will be different, that they will stop doing that they'll be what you want, and just say it is what it is. 4, don't wait around for people like that to fill your tank. And continue your self-growth like no one else is going to do it for you. And you'll find yourself happier and more at peace and more able to show up for other people. And that's just the last year of things that I've been chewing on. And it's been extremely painful and also extremely freeing to just arrive more closely to trusting myself. I don't know how many of you have read Melody Beattie's book, Codependency No More. It's an absolutely fabulous read. And I think that if you were a kid or in a relationship where you had somebody with an addiction, any kind of addiction that you had to cover for them, you should read this book, because you'll just realize that you have traits you didn't even realize, know that you had. I don't tend to like to share books that I read because they're so incredibly personal. But this book radically changed my life. And she said something in there that just was like a sun through the clouds moment for me, where she said, when you're in a relationship that is using you, the way they get you to stay is by getting you to doubt yourself. And the way out is when you begin to trust yourself again. And so even if you're not in a relationship with a person in that way anymore, you're still in a relationship with that mindset. And you need to start to begin to trust yourself again and say, I am good. I am kind. Look at the facts of my life. Look at how I endeavor, and just build yourself up again. It's a process, and that's not really what I wanted to talk about at all. I just wanted to talk about how Melody Beattie said to trust yourself again. So anyway, some of my thoughts. I hope that this encourages you, and I hope you feel a warm hug from my side of things, and I hope it finds you thriving. And I love you bunches, and thanks for listening.
I hope you live a good life. I hope you live a good life. I hope you live a good